Good morning. It's Jake Busey here. Identity and The Frighteners, both amazing movies. So glad I got to be a part of them. Yeah, those were a lot of fun. Those were great movies to be on. Identity was a hard one to film. It was dark. The mood was dark. Ray Liotta and John Cusack, and I mean, their energy was like so heavy, like negative. It was really a odd vibe to walk into. A lot of other people were really cool though and fun, like John C. McGinley and John Hawkes, who's an old buddy of mine, and Rebecca De Mornay and Amanda Peet. They were great. And yeah, that movie, Jim Mangold, he and his wife, they make these amazing movies, and I'm glad I get to be in that one. And I'm off to work on another scary movie called Scalper right now. And one last thing. Don't go out there.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. Really appreciate all the support. You guys are awesome. Before we get into tonight's blood donor review, I just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Everything about our podcast is on our website. All of our episodes and interviews from episode 1 to our weekly releases there. Check that out. We've done some incredible interviews. It's a lot easier to find them on our website than instead of going to Apple or Spotify. We also have our store. We have some new t-shirts out. We have Shan's Etsy page attached. Rep your favorite podcast. We'd love to see you rep our merch. It's awesome. We also have all of our social media links: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Like us, subscribe us, follow us, all that good stuff. We love interacting with our fans. We truly appreciate meeting new people who love our podcast. So it means a lot to us. And before we get into the film review, I just want to give a quick shout out to our blood donors. It's our Patreon. We're doing a blood donor review tonight. Excuse me. We have the traditional monthly reoccurring kind. You want to support us, help us out. Takes a big burden off of us. It doesn't go into our pockets. It just goes directly back into the podcast. You're a big fan of a movie, you want us to review it. We also have one-time donations available as well. Tonight we're doing Christian Cunningham's review of Identity. Brian, do you want to give your initial thoughts on it before I go?
Yeah. So this was kind of a tricky one for me. I would say I liked it more than I didn't. But I didn't love it. I think it's a well-made movie all around. James Mangold, Logan is my favorite movie if he's done. He did a great job shooting it. Cast is amazing. Honestly, I'm not real sure how I missed this when it first came out. After the after the whole 9 yards came out, I had a big thing for Amanda Peet. So I tried to catch everything she was in, but so I don't know though. I don't know. This one just fell through the cracks. My only issue is after the first hour, when the stuff starts kind of being revealed, it's where it kind of falls off for me some. It felt like it tried to be too clever almost for me. The first half reminds me a lot of House on Haunted Hill as far as the main plot goes, with the group of strangers coming together and start getting picked off. I mean, there are obviously a lot of movies that follow that formula. It also gives a lot of Hitchcock vibes to me, and the second half reminds me a lot of Split as well, just kind of not as enjoyable to me. It had a lot of nitpicks, logical issues throughout. Now, in a sense, you could probably explain most of those logical issues away, since this is all essentially in his head anyway. But I just found myself, enjoying the first half better before it tried to be overly smart is all. Again, enjoyable movie, though. I thought, I'm not sure of this, but I probably like it most of the guy, or like it more than most of the guys here. But I don't know. It's not great. Does have fantastic runtime and a high body count, though.
All right, I'll go next. I feel like this is like the third week in a row, and I apologize to blood donor Christian Cunningham for saying this, but I really don't have strong feelings about this movie. Like, it just really didn't do much for me. I thought the cast is great. Ray Liotta, John Cusack. I think your name is Cleo Duvall from The Faculty. Really fun cast, but just didn't have much of an impact on me. I didn't really love the twist at the end with the kid killing Paris at the end. Didn't really do much for me. But there's just movies that have like the split personality thing that I like better, like Secret Window. I like that movie way better than this one personally. So I'll just leave it at I didn't love this movie by any means, but I didn't hate it either. Just no strong feelings either way, honestly. Mike, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So this movie has a fantastic cast. I mean, just if you've never seen the movie, John Cusack, Ray Liotta, Amanda Peet, John McGinley, Jake Busey, down on the line, man. This movie's got a really cool cast. I think this movie is good. It's not great. It suffers a little bit in the middle where I feel like we kind of dragged the story out just a smidge. But I do think for me, I think the reveal at the very end ends up being the kid works. But they kind of let you know it's all in someone's head very early on. You're just trying to figure out who's who and what's what. So, like, I think giving away that part of the movie early on is a very different approach, and I appreciate that. But there are some cases where I wish I would not have known that going in. Like, I feel like that would have been better served just being a twist that we get towards the end as well. But again, I can't take away the acting performances from all involved. I think they're great. I think the sound, not the sound, but the setting is great. All the rain they use, this old motel, it kind of looks like Bates Motel in a way, or, the one from Vacancy. Like, I think there's like some really good shots here with all of that. So I love the set design that they use in this movie. And it pretty much is all in one location. Like, outside of the stuff you get in the road early on in the movie, like, I think it's, all one location, and I like that about a movie. Great runtime. So all in all, the movie is good. It's not great, but I do think it's very enjoyable. And, like you said, high body count. And I'm bringing it out, baby. Bringing out the big guns. I'm doing it. I'm bringing it back. Just because Brian made fun of me for my catchphrase, I'm bringing it back, baby. Amanda Peet. Call me sometime. Let's do this.
Oh, for Pete's sake, you're a married man. Yeah.
How long were you sitting on Pete's sake? Come on.
Oh, dude, I've been trying to figure out a way to work it in since we started this episode. Thank you for that. This movie does have a great cast, though. Jokes aside, I mean, Amanda Peet, John Cusack, Ray Liotta, John Hawkes, who I think's underrated. I love him and like everything he's in. Shout out to Rush Hour. I know Nico and I love that trilogy. John C. McGinley he plays the dork character so well. And this is actually the third movie of his that we've covered. He was in Belko, and what else is he in? Anyway, I've got it in my notes later. But the cast isn't the issue that I have with it. Oh, he was in Seven as well. But the cast isn't the issue that I have. I didn't enjoy this movie as much as I'd hoped for other reasons. Now, this movie, I missed it as well. I understand why I missed it. I mean, this movie came out towards the end of my freshman year of high school, so April of 2003, a lot of things were going on. I didn't catch every movie as they came out at that time, but I never watched it throughout the years, to be honest with you. I'd never heard of it, which is shocking considering this cast. But to me, and I texted Brian this, to me, this movie is like when you're like, hey, I want McDonald's. We got McDonald's at home, and this is the McDonald's at home. The analogy I used was, oh, I want Shutter Island. Oh, we have Shutter Island at home, and this is the Shutter Island at home. Or it's like you order Shutter Island off Wish.com. It's just not as good. And I understand Shutter Island came out after this movie. But as far as the twist and how they built it, I felt like they were very similar in how they were painting the split personality disorder and the crimes that the person committed and everything. Just felt similar, but just not executed as well. Nico said it best when he said, like, it just something felt off about it. It didn't hit like it should have, and I completely agree. Now, that's not to say that there's not some really cool things about the movie. There are, and I didn't hate it at all. But I definitely, like you said, Brian, I enjoyed the first half of the movie much more than the second half. Once the twist was apparent, I kind of was like,
twist his dick.
Yes, once the dick was twisted, I kind of lost interest. Not really lost interest, but I just kind of was put off by it just because of the execution. I think there's a great story here, and honestly, a remake or a similar, similar story could be better done with some tweaks. But yeah, anyway, didn't hate it, didn't love it, just kind of in the middle.
Dustin, Secret Window came out in 2004, which is a year after this movie. Are you trying to tell me the creators of Identity could go up to the people that created Secret Window and say, "You stole my story"? Oh, sorry. Had to do it. My bad.
Man, Secret Window is a great movie. I'm going to pick it one day, but
I've been waiting on that, pal.
That was good. But yeah,
I was letting you pick it because it's Johnny Depp, you know?
Yeah, you know.
All right, guys, any more thoughts before we just jump into the scene by scene? All right, here we go. The film starts with Malcolm Rivers' voice on a tape. Opening credits roll as he's being interrogated by the police as evidence around his case is investigated by Dr. Mallet. He looks up on Malcolm's past, asks of how his mother treated him. He's asked if he remembers the murders as we see pictures of dead women. A phone rings. The voice asks Gary if he's awake. A midnight hearing for the Rivers case. The defense is arguing insanity the night before his execution. We see a motel and it's raining like crazy. Larry watches Wheel of Fortune as he drinks up the Southern Comfort. A car backs up to the place and a man walks in with a woman bleeding. We're in the car with George, Alice, and Timmy before they blow a tire out. George gets the car pulled over cautiously. He exits the car and sees it was on a high-heel shoe that blew the tire. Now we're in the car with Paris, who flashes back to her in bed with a man tied up in bed with a birthday cake on his chest. She opens her luggage and clothes and shoes fly out onto the road. We see George and Alice changing the tire and Timmy knocks on the glass and presses hands with his mom against the glass. Suddenly she's hit by a car passing by. George is in shock and runs to his wife, who is bleeding from the neck. We now see Caroline on the phone with her agent as Ed drives her around. She asks him to look through her bag for a spare phone battery, and she snaps on him when he can't find it. The two are in disbelief when they realize they hit the woman. She says, "You assume responsibility if you help." Ed gets a towel for her neck, and Caroline refuses to open the door and give him the phone. Paris makes it to a washout in the road and backs up into a pole, messing up the transformer. George carries his wife into the hotel lobby and asks Larry to call for help, but the phones are out. He says there's a hospital 30 miles east. Ed unpacks Caroline's luggage and snatches her out and takes off in the limo as she continues to bitch. Paris's car breaks down and she flags down Ed and bums a ride. She warns him of the washed-out road, but she says he has to try. Larry gets money from Caroline and a copy of her ID, asking if she used to be that actress. She offers more money and says she wants the nicest room. We now see the limo stuck as it's fallen into the runoff. Ed asks Jenny and Lou if they have a cell phone. There's been an accident. Ed asks for a ride. Lou tells Jenny to pop the trunk and let them in. Lou now stares at Paris, checking her out. They're back to the motel, and Ed tells Larry the roads are fucked up both directions. Paris is now harassed by Larry for being a hooker. He says he doesn't like looking at trash. George is nursing Alice as Ed says they're stuck here tonight. Ed asks if she has a sewing kit. Paris goes to her room as Lou and Jenny make it to their room. Ed looks through a desk as he sees a car pull up. Jenny asks Lou if he felt that cold. Officer Rhodes exits the car and asks Larry if he's the manager. He asks for a favor with a room. He's transporting a criminal. Ed asks Rhodes if the car has a radio. They need an ambulance. Ed asks Rhodes for help after he gets the criminal situated. Rhodes realizes his car is out of gas. The criminal says he's fucked. All right, Brian, that's the opening set of scenes I got. What'd you think?
First off, what an amazing opening credits with Pruitt Taylor Vince reading the poem. Look, it's creepy as hell, I think, and I think it's right up there with John Larroquette doing the Texas Chainsaw opening voiceover to me. I think Vince does such a freaking just good job in all of his scenes as Malcolm. Dustin brought up his run of movies that we're on, so he's definitely a show alumnus. A few other alumni, friend of the show, Jake Busey. Thanks for doing the show intro, by the way. In his second appearance with Starship Troopers being the other one, definitely won't be his last either. He's got like a billion more movies that he's in. John C. McGinley, we brought him up. I know this is at least his second appearance, with going uncredited on Seven. Clay Duvall from the Amazing Faculty movie. Even Holmes Osborne from Donnie Darko. And not a show alone, but I got to bring up Alfred Molina here, Doc Octavius himself. Only Dustin will get that reference. And, right off the bat, I want to give James Mangold and the main cinematographer, Feeden Papa Michael, their due. This movie is shot and cut beautifully, I think. Papa Michael has done Mangold's Walk the Line, Ford versus Ferrari, 310 to Yuma. So, they're definitely a director cinematographer combo that sticks together there for sure. A fun fact right off the bat about this set of scenes: the naked businessman Paris tied to the bed at the beginning of the movie is one of Malcolm's identities, apparently. He's also the agent Caroline Suzanne is speaking to on the phone. He was pinned as the first identity in the movie to die, but the scenes were shaved from the movie. So that's a little kind of behind the scenes there tidbit that's pretty good there. Alice getting hit by the bus. Holy shit. Like, that was fucking amazing. Out of nowhere, Final Destination type style there. Also, but I don't know. Why is Paris driving in the rain with the top down, by the way?
Yep.
The car?
Thank you.
I'm sure it has some deeper meaning, with all this being in his head. But again, one of those things that don't make sense to me logically, and I didn't really care enough to really dive that much into it. But it stood out to me, like I said, as not making logical sense, which, there's a bunch of that throughout the movie in here, and I'll point it out. But again, a lot of it's explained away with being in his head. Lastly, this is probably my favorite group of scenes. Seeing how all these storylines kind of merge together to bring everyone here. And knowing what we know at the end, upon rewatch, it makes all of these characters and their traits make a little bit more sense too. Whenever you're watching it again. At this point, I love this movie. I'm hooked.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, this opening set of scenes is like a big old fish hook. Something Nico can relate to. This movie really kind of draws me out to pull me in here in the beginning, man. I love this setup, the everything with the rain and on the road, and you've got this guy changing a tire, and you're kind of wondering, man, what is this movie? And you got this snobby actress and John Cusack's driving it's all very out of place for some reason. And I get a very uneasy feeling watching it. I'm like, there's something off here. Like, it doesn't feel like real people interacting. And I don't think that's the benefit of hindsight. Like, even the first time I watched this movie, I was like, this movie kind of feels like a movie within a movie, just because of the cast and everything else. I like recognize him from other places. So just like a weird feeling that I get watching the movie, and they show, the wife being run over from multiple angles. And I thought that was a nice touch too. And they kind of clearly define who's good and who's bad here, at least to me, at least with these characters. The actress kind of a snobby ass, and everyone else is pretty much trying to do the right thing after she gets run over there. So I really love how the rain is almost its own character in this movie, especially here in this opening set of scenes where Paris is driving. She has to turn around because there's the street is flooded. Everyone drives right up to it, and it's flooded, so everyone ends up at this motel together. And I like how it all ties in. They're all from different angles, but it all ties in. But you're not quite sure how it all ties in. You're not quite sure why they're all there. And yeah, they kind of give away a little bit at the beginning what is going on here. Like, yeah, clearly it's all in his head, but you kind of want to know what's in his head. Is this what they're talking about? Or is this going to connect to the beginning somehow? So they do a really good job of laying groundwork and asking questions and not just answering everything right away. So I like these characters. Every time we watch one of these movies, by the way, and there's a desk manager from a shitty hotel, immediately suspect bad things. And I know he ended up being okay, but I'm just saying, that's a trope in my head. Is shitty hotel desk manager, probably going to be a creep. Yeah, look, I really like this, and I like John Cusack's character here. Him kind of almost being, maybe it wasn't on purpose, but like a little bit of a red herring as far as like someone who could turn heel. Like, he's playing Mr. Nice Guy, Mr. Former Cop. He's looking after this woman, trying to sew her neck together. Like, I think my red flag went off. Like, this guy's too nice. Something's off here. I don't like that he's so nice, but all's well that ends well. But yeah, really good set of scenes. Really enjoyed it. It got me right away. And I watched this probably I know I watched it because somebody told me about it when I was like 17, 18. Like, oh, by the way, your hometown or your home county's in this movie. They talk about it later in the movie, so I'll wait. But like, you got to see it, got to watch the whole thing. So I did. But that's the only other time I've seen it other than getting ready for this film review. So love it so far. I'm all the way in. None of the problems that I do have risen yet.
Yeah, I've got more notes on the first, these set of scenes than anything in the rest of the movie because so much is thrown at us. Now, when you watch it the second time, all the groundwork of the movie, the entire plot of the movie is laid out in that opening montage in the opening credits and title card scene. From the poem he read about he met a man who wasn't there, the abandoned motel, the dislike for horrors, the May 10th birthday, etc. Like everything is laid out right there. Now, we've already mentioned the great cast, and it is a great cast, but it feels like a bit of a jumbled mess how we get introduced to all these characters and all their backstories. It's like we're just hopping around. Here's a few seconds of this person. Here's a few seconds of this person. Hey, look at this guy over here. And it's just we didn't really even need it, to be honest with you, other than Amanda Peet's character, because like you said, Brian, the scene that they show with her and the guy that's tied up that met his demise, that was apparently one of the personalities we couldn't find out. But everything else we honestly didn't need. Like a storm is plausible enough reason for them all to be stranded at a hotel. And
I liked it, though.
It really bothered me also that she was hauling ass in the rain with her top down. But okay. Anyway. And then another thing, like I get that this didn't really happen. All this is taking place in his head or whatever, but the mom, you're telling me that she wouldn't have seen Alice York, that's her name. She wouldn't have seen the headlights from that car or heard the car flying at her. Like that car just came out of nowhere. It's like a silent automobile with no headlights. So it makes her getting hit by that car a little bit questionable. But again, like I said, all of it, or like you said, rather, all of this can be explained because none of it really happened. It's all taking place in the head. So it's kind of a cop-out because any plot holes, you can just chalk it up as that because, you don't think of every little detail when you're imagining stuff in your head anyway. But, if you're wanting it to be believable and throw you off, then you should fill those plot holes in. And then we see George walking into the motel twice. That was weird to me. Like they showed him opening the door. There's so much blood, she won't stop bleeding. And then we see her get hit by the car. Like that was weird and oddly unnecessary. Like it only took up about 15 seconds, so it's not a big deal. But why even do that? It didn't serve any purpose. Another huge issue I have with this movie is that Alice got hit by a car that was haul-assing through the rain, and the only real injury that she had was a slice on her neck. Like no broken bones, no, there was a lot of blood, but it appeared to all have come from a slice on her neck. And her neck didn't even get hit the car, so that was weird. And then I texted you guys this, something that really bothered me was how Larry just would not let it go that that Paris was allegedly a whore. Like, is she a hooker? That's fine if she is. There's just zero reason for him to immediately jump to that conclusion as soon as she walked in the door. And it honestly was annoying at how much they pushed that angle. Like, knowing what the twist is and what we heard at the beginning, I get it. Like, I get why hookers are such a big deal and why that part of his personality has such disdain for him. But still, like, you should have exaggerated her character more than we got. Like, she was just dressed like a young girl. There was nothing about her that screamed hooker to me. I guess unless a girl traveling in that part of the country at that time of night alone is hooker behavior. I don't know. But and then also, I don't like how Jenny asked Lou if he felt the cold. It's like, oh, did you feel that? It's cold. It's like, you're just trying to throw us off the scent of what's going on here, trying to throw hints of this supernatural storyline at us. This is unnecessary. And her character was annoying as shit anyway. But or that part of that personality was annoying as shit. But that was just a nitpick that bothered me. I don't know why, but it's just you didn't need that. There's nothing supernatural going on in this film. You don't need to hint that it could be a possibility. And then last thing I have is that I do like the Rhodes edition because like how he was introduced to us. Everyone else was just thrown at us at once, and then you waited. It was very deliberate when Rhodes was shown to us. But also the fact that in the open or during this set of scenes, we get the flashback to the real life judge, and we hear that there's a prisoner being transported for an emergency hearing, and then along comes Rhodes. I like that. Like, that's throwing us off. That's saying, hey, this is probably the guy that's on his way to this hearing, and which it is, but not how we think at the time. So I like how that's done. But overall, it's a confusing set of scenes for me because very well done, very well shot. I like the lack of score. I like the acting, the lighting. Everything is great. It's just a bit of a jumbled mess.
All right. Ed is sewing up the wound, and Larry says he's going to go get the officer situated. George sits beside his wife, and Ed asks if his son is all right. He hasn't said much. George says he's the stepfather. 2 years ago, the father left. Timmy watches the prisoner being escorted to their room. Rhodes handcuffs Robert to the toilet. Rhodes goes to the room and tells Ed it's a good stitch job. Rhodes walks up on Paris stealing from a vending machine. Are you going to arrest me, officer? He makes small talk, flirting with her, and offers to cook for her, and she asks for change for $1. He asks her name, and she shoots him down, walking away. Back to the room, and George is begging Alice to be strong. Ed walks out and takes some meds. Larry is scrummaging around hiding things in the office. Paris reveals a briefcase full of money. We see Rhodes' shirt is bloody underneath his jacket. Caroline answers her phone and goes outside to get a better signal. She snatches the shower curtain to walk around until she finally gets a bar. Her call drops and she hears a creaking noise. She's attacked from behind as she screams. Ed wakes up and goes outside. He finds a shower ring and follows a trail of them. He goes into the laundry room and checks 2 machines as he hears a thudding noise. He checks the third one and finds Caroline's head in it. Larry and Rhodes walk in and they see the head. Ed reveals he used to be a cop, and Rhodes finds a number 10 room key, and Ed asks where's his guy. They go to Rhodes' room and find the criminal has gotten free. We're now at the table with Dr. Malik, the attorney and the judge and other court officials. The attorney says they should wait until his client arrives. The judge dismisses his mental state. You think I got time for bullshit, he asks. All the people in a room, and Ed says there was an incident. He says Caroline is dead. They can't find the body. As long as we stay calm, we'll be fine. Chaos ensues when they reveal the criminal has escaped. Jenny goes to escape but walks into Rhodes. Paris says she's not staying here with Larry. Ed begs Paris to just stay as Rhodes and Ed leave the room. Rhodes tells Ed the criminal is guilty of multiple homicides. Lou asks Paris if she lives in Las Vegas. Not anymore. Rhodes and Ed continue to look for Robert. Larry is in a room now going through someone's luggage. Lou says he and Jenny have been married for 9 hours. Jenny runs out of the room and back to their room. Lou says we are not leaving, it's flooding. She reveals that she is not pregnant. She and Lou begin to argue and she locks herself in the bathroom. He pounds the door and yells to open the door. Lou asks someone, what are you doing here? And he pounds the door, calling her name to open it. Suddenly, he stops. Jenny opens the door and a shadow with an axe walks towards her. She locks the door and jumps out the window and into Rhodes. Rhodes runs into the room and they find Lou dead. All right, Brian, that's the next set of scenes we got. What'd you think?
At the very start of this, great practical effects on sewing up Alice and really all throughout this movie here. 2003 was one of those weird years. It's kind of a weird time period where movies tried to use too much CG and it turned out, not holding up good over the years. So when a movie of this time period kind of uses practical effects, I love it. Shout out to the legend, Greg Nicotero, his team. If you're living over to a rock and his name sounds familiar, he's known for Walking Dead. Ton of other movies. I'd be here all night if I named them. He's a Tom Savini protege. As far as the movies we've reviewed that he's worked on, I mentioned him in Jennifer's Body, 06 Chainsaw, Hostel, 05's Amityville Horror, 13 Ghosts, The Faculty, Scream 1, Scream 2, Dusk Till Dawn, New Nightmare, and Misery. And so, and we will do at least 20 more of his movies, so get used to hearing his name. I was a fan of seeing Caroline go here. Like, she was my least favorite character. No offense to Rebecca De Mornay. I just don't think she had a lot to work with. Talking to herself the whole thing. Just she instantly got on my nerves. I wish we would have gotten a better look at the kill though. And I'm sorry, no way Ed is doing that sort of investigation in the rain. Just like walking around finding shower hangers, peeping folks' laundry. I mean, no way he would care that much. But again, logical stuff cut like this, who knows if it matters since it's all in his head anyway. I know it's not till later when it's kind of explained, but since Lou bites it here, can we talk about how his name is the absolute worst name I've ever seen, read or heard on screen? Probably Lou Louisiana. Seriously, come the fuck on.
Louisiana. That's what I said.
Look, that's the Tommy the Machine Gun or Mason the Lion Dixon from the Rocky franchise kind of cheesy. Now, come on, Mangold. I was like, are you serious,
Buddy, that is WWE from 1994. Louisiana.
Yeah. Abe Knuckleball Schwartz is jealous of that one.
Duke the Dumpster Drose. Okay, sorry, go
ahead. All right, so I love showing, each of them with their, I don't want to call them vices. I think that's not the right word, but letting they all kind of have some secrets. And I'm excited at this point to see the explanation of the movie. I mean, my problem with the reveal is that it's just not what I wanted to see. Maybe I think that's what it is. I don't know. We'll talk about that more when we get there. But another great group of scenes, in my opinion. What stands out the most up to this point, and I know we've said it, but the fucking acting performances are insane. Like on everyone. Clay Duvall having almost mental breakdown in the bathroom. Who knew she had that kind of acting chops? Like, it's just, I think it's phenomenal performances. Again, I know that gets, thrown around a lot, but Jesus Christ, like it stood out to me in this movie. I mean, we're halfway through this movie. And at this point, I would give this movie a 9 or a 10 right now. Like just, waiting on, as it turns out, not so solid ground for the rest of the movie. But anyway.
Yeah, I will say I like this set of scenes, but I feel like it drags a little bit here. Like maybe not as much happens as I was wanting to. Like I feel like we get so much in that opening set, and then we kind of get here and, we're kind of walking around, we're investigating stuff. Now, obviously we get some, a death, but I mean, it's just I kind of wish there was more here to kind of latch onto. But you mentioned Clay Duvall's scene where she's on the other side of that door is fantastic. I mean, it is just a gut wrench. Like those two going back and forth, I really just think it's great acting, all in all. Like you said, that there, and again, it's all explained away. Oh, it's all in his head. It's kind of like those cartoon conspiracy theories, like the whole show of Family Guy's in Peter's head after a family accident or whatever the hell that one is. Like it's kind of like, oh, it doesn't matter. It can be explained away because it's all in his head. There's some leaps in logic here with him, like just like walking around this deserted motel in a rainstorm, looking for stuff, investigating stuff. Like it just kind of bugged me just a little bit. I'm not as much of the logic police as some of my other brothers and co-hosts on this show. I tend to be a little more forgiving, but even here, I'm like, okay. There's just a few things, but I will say in this set of scenes, a few things stand out, and to me, it's the acting, which Brian mentioned. I think Ray Liotta is great as Rhodes, especially when we find out, like once we find out what Rhodes is, his acting leading up to that, I think, is really, really just A+. And I think George York, which is, by the way, that's another name I'm just not I don't know. It's weird. All the names here are weird, which should be a dead giveaway. But love that character because he just plays, Kinley plays it so straight. Like it just seems like a real dad with a real son that his wife really just got ran over. And I do like the effects on the sewing up there. I like all of that. Like I think like there's some good effects here. And again, I love that the rain is such a major part of this film. But I don't have a ton of notes on this section just because I kind of feel like I'm not like Brian, but he said something that I agree with. Like I kind of want to get into what's actually happening here because now we're still a bunch of loose ends that aren't tied up yet, at least not to my satisfaction where I can kind of start to piece things on the puzzle board here. So I think this is a good set of scenes, but I'm kind of ready for a little bit more when I'm done watching it.
So this set of scenes offers my favorite line of the entire movie. When Paris is out by the vending machine and Rhodes is walking up and they get a little chatty there. Rhodes says, Paris, huh? Never been. And then she says, well, you ain't going tonight. Dude, I laughed so hard. That's a great line. But it also dispels any notion that she might be a whore. Like that bothered me even more because God almighty, like Larry drives that hard for the rest of the movie, calling her a whore and all this stuff. And she just shut that down. So whatever. I thought it was a very nice touch to show the blood stain on the back of Rhodes' shirt as he's putting on his jacket. Like that was very well done, given what we find out later in the movie. And this set of scenes, more than anything, does a great job of building tension through the atmosphere. The rain, the lack of score, the lighting used everywhere, it was all just fantastic. Great. Well done. Now, Ed was a little too calm about finding a head in the dryer. I mean, I don't think that's what Al Snow was talking about when he asked what everybody wanted. Like, not that kind. Like, he just found a head in the dryer and was just way too calm. And then Rhodes and Larry walk up on him. Larry freaked out a little bit, but still, the three of them collectively were just way too calm about, number one, finding a head in a dryer, but then also they didn't even question Ed. Like, who's to say Ed didn't put that head in the dryer? They just walked up like, huh, it's a head. So it bothered me there. Rhodes going in to grab the evidence barehanded and having to be corrected. I thought that was a nice touch too, to show us his twist, to show us that he's not really a cop. Ed had to be like, hey, no, use this to grab it. So that was nice. And then here we go. More horror talk. Called her a hoe, called her a slut. And again, I ask, what has she done to warrant this? It just feels like forced dialogue to paint a narrative of her that they could have done through storytelling instead. Now, man, I just do not care one single bit about Jenny and Lou.
That's fair.
Jenny is just annoying as shit to me. Like they just seem like that every couple from a small town in Tennessee that got married on a whim. Like, you don't want to be in a Waffle House with them, man. They're going to annoy the fuck out of you. So, and that's what they did to me. Like, I was annoyed by them, especially. Now, she did a great job of selling the believability of when she's in the bathroom there and having the meltdown and everything. But my God, that was annoying to me. And then when he's banging on the door saying, open up, open up, open up, and it stops. When she opened the door, buddy, that blood looked awful. That blood was way too red. I had an issue with that. That's like the only thing in the movie to me that effects-wise that I had an issue with. Like, for some reason, the red on the walls, the lighting on it just made it look like acrylic paint. But
yeah, I see that. That's fair.
Overall, I mean, yeah, I'm with you, Mike. I'm ready for something else to happen. Like, what are we doing here? We got some deaths going on here, but I need more.
These two are definitely from Polk County. Because she's being name called a certain thing, and she's from Frostproof, and the guy that's being a dumbass about it is from Mulberry, and buddy, those are two of the smallest towns in Polk County. So go Polk. Shout out to Lake Wales, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
All right, Jenny breaks down crying as we see Robert trying to escape. He breaks into a house, looks out the window, and sees the motel sign. He turns around and Rhodes punches him. They tie him up, and Ed asks Paris to go back to the room, please. Larry says he doesn't feel comfortable on guard duty. Alice awakes and calls her son's name. George sits beside her, and she says she doesn't remember anything. He gets her some aspirin as Paris tells Jenny she's got to get something from her room. Larry closes the freezer and tries to find something to lock it. Robert asks what's in the freezer, what's in there. I'm good at keeping secrets. Paris goes to leave the room and walks into Ed. He asks her what's she doing, and she says he's not a cop anymore and calls him a complicated guy. She asks where he was a cop at as he takes pictures. Los Angeles, but I'm on medical leave. He tells a story of a Mexican woman committing suicide. He hesitated and couldn't think of an optimistic thing, so she jumped. Ed now finds a room number 9 key in Lou's hands. He yells out for Rhodes and shows him the key. Paris asks if this is some countdown. He calls for Larry to come over, and what's he doing? They go back inside and see Robert has been killed. Baseball bat shoved down his throat. Larry says he didn't do it. Ed and Rhodes continue to yell at him and question him. Larry drops a box, and Ed finds a Gucci wallet. He backs up and grabs Paris and puts a knife to her throat. She elbows him, and they back into the freezer, and she grabs the handle, and a dead body falls out. Larry runs away and into an SUV. He drives it to escape and runs into George, killing him as he goes to save Timmy. Back to the round table as the defense attorney pitches the insanity case. He shows Malcolm's diary of entries before the murders. Dr. Malik explains dissociative identity disorder. The bailiff tells the judge the criminal is here. Ed ties Larry up to the chair. Larry tells his real story. He found the guy from the freezer dead in the lobby. Larry now says he impersonated as the manager. Maybe I was wrong, but I was broke. He wasn't trying to hide him, just preserve him for his family. Rhodes ain't buying it. Paris says the story is so unbelievable. It might be true. Jenny says it might be the burial ground. Rhodes says, give me a break. Rhodes says the plan is we stay here in the room, and if Larry moves, I shoot him. And if anything is out there, I'm going to shoot them. Later on, we see Timmy get out of bed and goes to his mother. Jenny now brings up a movie about 10 strangers on an island who had something connecting them. They now begin to all question each other. Larry and Paris are from the same county in Florida. Paris bought a bunch of land in Florida for orange farming. Rhodes finds Alice dead in the bed and calls for Ed. Timmy walks in and begins to cry. Rhodes finds a room key under her. Ed says it doesn't make sense. She died from an accident. Paris asks, where's 7? They back the truck up from George's dead body and find key number 7 with his body. Larry says, I told you it wasn't me, and begs to be untied. Ed tells Paris and Jenny to get the kid and leave in the car. We'll see you when the storm breaks. Rhodes tries to stop them, and suddenly the car explodes. Rhodes grabs a fire extinguisher and puts out the flaming car. Nobody in there. Ed says something should be left. Rhodes accuses Ed of doing this. You happy? All right, Brian, this is the next set of scenes. What'd you think? And the next set is the ending.
Okay, so another logical question I had. Why is Jake Busey trying to escape when Rhodes is in on this whole thing? Like, that to me, it didn't make any sense. Like, I don't know. Regardless, though, this is where I don't want to say supernatural because we found out that it's not supernatural, obviously, later. But at this point, I start to think that it's supernatural stuff, that kind of starts coming into play with him, like with Jake Busey ending up right back at the hotel when he runs away, and the Indian burial ground explanation, the disappearing bodies, things, kind of starting to creep in here that at this point I think that is supernatural. The movie starts to lose me a little bit because I really wasn't in on the supernatural thing. Like, I'm sold on a whodunit right now at this point, and that's what I wanted. I will say some positives. Great kill on George being hit by the fucking truck. I thought that looked fantastic. Also, great effects on Robert's death with that baseball bat. There was a story I read from behind the scenes about this dummy corpse that Nicotero's crew created. One of the studio execs apparently asked to keep it and stored it in his office closet. Apparently, a member of his cleaning crew stumbled upon it, and it was a huge deal. I thought that was pretty funny to imagine that happening. Anyway, great looking prop, though. Dustin mentioned that last set of scenes was his favorite dialogue. I think this is my favorite piece of dialogue in this movie. Liotta gives it here when he just says, I'm going to shoot him. Someone comes in here, I'm going to shoot them too. You try anything, I'm going to shoot you. I don't know. It was just, I loved it. Liotta is just fantastic anyway. But I think that monologue there kind of gave me a lot of, his Goodfellas, Henry Hill vibes. And I don't know. I thought it was really great. Lastly, another little fun fact I found I thought was pretty interesting. That's relevant to this group of scenes anyway. The odds of all 10 characters having the same birthday are approximately 1 in just over 115 sextillion. So that's a real number. Go ahead.
Well, it's all in his head, pal, so it's explained so well. Just messing with you, although that is what they will say. So, all right. Well, it makes sense they all have the same birthday because they're all him. But okay. I'm with you here. This movie loses me just a smidge in this set of scenes. Not completely, because, again, I'm going in with the knowledge of already knowing the ending. But if you're watching it for the first time, they start to play on these supernatural elements because, like, people start disappearing after they're killed. And I don't like that. Like, I think, they start mentioning this ancient burial ground that's in the brochure and all this other stuff. And I'm like, oh, man, don't go this route. Like, this has been such a good little whodunit, and it's such a well-acted whodunit. I really want to know who the fuck is killing people. And I think they did a good job of making everyone at least a sensible suspect. That would whoever it is would be a true villain just because of the people that have died. So they did a really good job setting it up. And once they introduced and kind of muddied the waters, I'm kind of like, oh man, like that kind of sucks. But you get some really good stuff here, though. You mentioned the dialogue. Getting to know the characters better in this set of scenes, I thought really worked. Like I even liked the whole them trying to figure it all out when they find out everybody's birthday is the same. and that you got two characters from Polk County. Shout out to Frostproof and Mulberry, which I already mentioned, but Lake Wells is far superior. But that was, by the way, side note, that was kind of cool to see in a motion picture. Like, I think we've been in like two others as far as by name. Now we've had some filming locations around us, but like nothing by name. That was pretty cool to see. But the fact that two characters are from there, Louisiana, like all that stuff, like as they're starting to try to piece some of that together, I think is really good character work as far as learning who they are, getting everyone talking to each other, and you're really not. This is a set of scenes where you're just not really sure what Rhodes is. It's going back and forth with, you kind of don't know if you like. See, at this point, I still don't know if I like anyone in particular, just because Cusack has tried to take control of this whole thing, and you're kind of like, which I already mentioned earlier. You're kind of like, it's a little too positive, a little too nice here. Then your Rhodes, who's a serious cop, but Ray Liotta kind of plays him with this like look that I don't think is very trustworthy to me. So you get some very suspect looking people here. Really cool kill here with the baseball bat down the throat. I think that's a good look. A lot of the kills look good. So it was, when we get to favorite kill, it's going to be really hard to kind of know which one I like the most, because I thought the effects looked really good. But yeah, I mean, the character of Larry is hilarious to me. I know he's not trying to be, but I can't help it. John Hawkes, who Dustin mentioned, does a really good job. You know who he looks like? Like a little bit more of a handsome DJ Qualls. Or Squalls? Squalls. Sorry. Qualls, right? Like, yeah, from the new guy. Who's the bitch now?
You know what's funny is I've always thought that he looks like a mix between DJ Qualls and like strung out Ethan Hawke.
No, he really does look like a mix between the two. I was about to say, it's just funny that his last name's Hawks. And I was like, well, you remove a letter, long lost, maybe, Ethan Hawke and DJ Qualls' mom kind of, played smush. I don't know. Anyway, but I like this set of scenes.
I don't think Ethan Hawke's old enough for that.
What?
The plural of hawk is hawks, so it just makes sense.
Just you're actually two of my seed. All right, anyway, I'm done. No, what I really wanted to say was I enjoy this set of scenes from an acting and even some of the writing standpoint, but I don't like this inclusion of muddying the waters and now it's not real to me. And I know there's some good and bad to knowing that it's all in his head. I feel like this is where the bad comes, because it is it's a well-written whodunit up to this point. I think they kind of ruined that a little bit. Pops the air out of the balloon. Just a smidge.
Yeah. So one of the things that bothered me, surprise, I had and took issue with something that happened, but Robert asking Larry what's in the fridge. Like, that didn't make sense to me. Like, we had no reason to be suspicious of the fridge at this point.
Exactly.
And Robert definitely didn't. Like, if we didn't as the audience, then Robert definitely didn't. So their little argument did give us motive for believing Larry killed Robert. So that was good. But you could have used something other than the fridge or the freezer to be the thing that stoked that fire. Another thing that bothered me was Ed, when he squatted down taking pictures, he took like 4 pictures from the exact same angle and exact same spot before he noticed the key in his hand. Like, he didn't move at all. He just he squatted down talking. So I guess we're supposed to ignore the fact that he's taking pictures, and he didn't move. He just like, oh, hey, there's the key. And man, baseball bat down the throat. That's a hell of a way to go. Like, fuck that, man. Kill me another way. I would rather not. If I only had 2 choices, either that or, run into oncoming traffic, I'm picking that. And then here we go. I didn't hurt anyone, but I don't like cheap fucking horse. Man, you're beating a dead horse here. Like, just, okay, we get it. You think she's a whore. You've established that she apparently is a whore. Just easy with the dialogue. It's just annoying at this point.
Also, he sounds like he says the word horse instead of whores when he says it. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. The general manager of my favorite bar in Knoxville, Roosters, he calls them hooers. Where are the hooers at? That's what he always asks me. But anyway, shout out to Wes. And then, when we do see the body fall out of the freezer, okay, that's a good touch. Like, this is good story development because this makes Larry look more and more like our killer, and it plants some seed of suspicion in our minds, and I like that. Now then we flash to Dr. Malik, and he's talking, and they interrupt to say he's here, and then it's not Ed, or it's not Robert that's rolled into the room. It's like, oh shit, okay. It's like, that's a good swerve. Like, it ends up being Malcolm Rivers, but like I said earlier, they did a good job of introducing Rhodes when they did, because it kind of plants the thought that, okay, this guy Robert, he's the killer that's being transported, and then boom, Malcolm Rivers. So I really like the way that was done. And then, man, here's when Jenny's just on my last nerve. Like, when they've got Larry tied up and talking about the murders and stuff, everybody's dead, and then she's just yelling, "Stop it, he can't take anymore." Like, you're in a motel. You can move to the next door room or tell them to go next door. Like, if you really care that much about sheltering this kid from hearing all this, like, take it somewhere else, lady. And then she gives us that bullshit Indian burial ground. Like, give me a break. Give me a break. Like, you can't force this supernatural possibility down my throat here. Like the baseball bat, I guess. But she's on my last nerve. Her whole storyline's on my last nerve. And then I do like the keychain being next to Alice, and then they go out and find one next to George. Like, that's awesome, because then it's like, oh wait, what the hell's going on? Like, no one killed Alice, or definitely no one killed George, right? Like, he ran out in front of a truck and got hit. And so I like that. That's the kind of confusion and doubt that you need to be planting in a whodunit or a mystery thriller. So it's a mixed bag on this set of scenes, to be honest.
All right, guys, here's the ending. Rhodes now sees George's body is missing, Robert's body is missing, and so is Lou's. Caroline's head is missing, and now Alice's body is gone. Paris yells out, "I give up. What the hell do you want, you sick bastard? I want to go home and grow oranges." They all realize their birthday is on the 10th. What are the odds? Lightning strikes and a power line goes down. Ed realizes all their names are of cities or states. When I was going up the stairs, I met a man. Ed looks around and is now at the round table. Dr. Malik talks to him, and the others at the table are confused by what's going on. Ed tells a story of driving the actress, and they got stuck at the motel. Bodies kept disappearing. Malik shows Ed a picture of Malcolm Rivers and asks if he recognizes him. He says no. A detective shows him crime scene photos. Malik tells Ed about multiple personality disorder and tells him Edward is one of his personalities. He hands Ed a mirror and sees Malcolm's reflection. Ed begins to snap and asks why is he tied up. Malik asks him to calm down, and he says none of the people at the motel are real. All the people named after a state, all the same birthday. Malik says he's lost some of the personalities, and in 19 hours, Malcolm will be put to death unless I can prove to that man the killer's personality is gone. The killer cannot survive. Back to Ed at the motel as Rhodes and Larry check out the breakers. Paris looks through Rhodes' car and sees the radio is missing, and that Rhodes is actually a criminal as well. Flashback to Rhodes killing the cop escorting he and Robert. Paris finds a dead cop in the trunk. Paris calls for Larry, and she runs to find Ed now. Rhodes grabs her and asks where's the key to the truck, and Larry bashes him with a fire hydrant. He tries to grab the gun from Rhodes, but he guns him down. He chases after Paris, shooting at her. Paris hides and runs into Ed. He tells her to stay here. Ed and Rhodes confront each other. Give me the keys to the truck. The two open fire on each other. Rhodes and Ed both fall over. Paris runs to Ed, saying, "We're going to get him to a hospital." She tries to help him up, but he's dying and he can't help her. She asks for him to tell her what he saw. He says, "I saw you in an orange grove." Back to Malcolm, who tears up. We see Paris drive away in the truck. Malik says his body committed the murders, but his mind didn't. We see Malcolm being transported, and he was not to be executed. We're in an orange grove now with Paris. She's checking clothes on the line and walks to a tree. She digs in the dirt and finds a room number 1 key and looks up, and Timmy is there. Malcolm begins to twitch in the back seat. We now see Timmy was the killer at the motel. Malik opens the divider, and Malcolm says, "Whores don't get a second chance," as he strangles Malik. Timmy kills Paris as we see the vehicle swerve and stop on the side of the road. "I wish he'd go away," the voice says, and end credits roll. Brian, what'd you think about the ending?
Timmy. I don't know. A little fun fact right off the bat, though, when Ed shoots Rhodes at the end of the movie here, you see Rhodes mouth the words, "I didn't do this," and Ed replies, "I know." Neither of those lines are audible because they were muted. Apparently, Mangold felt that it would make it less obvious that Rhodes was, not the killer, thus making the true reveal less surprising. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't think I would have got that anyway. I think my problem is that, and it's taken me doing this review, I think, to really work this out in my own head. But I think it's because I didn't see this movie when it came out. I think that if I had seen it when it was released, it would have been probably mind blowing to me. I was 2 years out of high school. I haven't seen a whole lot of movies. Like I kind of said during our American Psycho review. It's like there's just been so much that came after, Fight Club and around that time period with so many twists. And, we've had Shutter Island, like we've been mentioned before, and Memento and Inception and just so many other things, I've seen before this movie that I guess I was just less impressed. And so when I watched this, it just wasn't what I wanted to see happen. I guess it's not this movie's fault. So I guess as far as this ending goes, it just didn't hit that certain way for me. And I think that's pretty much the reason. Even if I think it ended up not being Timmy as the killer, or maybe had Ray Liotta's twist reveal, like he was the one doing it without the supernatural stuff and without it really being in Malcolm's head, I think I would have liked this much better. Like, again, it was almost like, to me, that it came across like it was trying to do too much for me anyway. So hope that made some sense. That's all I had.
Well, I will give you a little bit of a pass here because I think it is a little confusing, to be honest. At least, until the very, very end, I think it's a little confusing as you start to get these reveals. So it made sense what you said, at least in my opinion. But look, all the stuff with Rhodes, I could kind of start to see coming, but how it unfolded once Paris finds his identity there in the car, I didn't see. So I thought it was done really, or that part was done really well. Like, I really like that we have that reveal, and I would have been really on board with just that little simple whodunit. It's Rhodes. We know that now. We got to put a stop to him. He's a crazy person, for lack of a better term. But we don't get that. We get, everything's in Malcolm's head. And I will say, I love this dialogue of the scene where they're sitting around the table trying to convince the judge of there's different people inside this man. And I love, I love it. John Cusack's there laying on the ground, and it's raining after he shot, him and, the standoff between him and Rhodes. I love that back and forth of his face and Malcolm's face and his face, and just like him not recognizing who he is in the mirror and all of that stuff. I think that stuff is done really, really well. But it does lessen the fact of my story, or the story that I've invested in, which is who's committing these murders. I think the solution that we get, while good, it has been done better. And I think this movie suffers from other movies that have done it better. This kind of twist, it's all in his head. It's different personalities. But I think it does do a good job of explaining away, and his execution getting stayed, and I like all of that. And I would have even been on board, by the way, with a happy ending. Like, for once, normally I'm not for that. Like, I kind of like a movie that kind of flicks us off and says, nope, you're not getting your happy ending. But here, I felt like letting Malcolm just be kind of, happy-minded and right off into the sunset would have been fine. But we don't get that. And we get what is supposed to look like Frostproof Florida with Paris. And I got to tell y'all something. I know they showed an outside picture of an orange grove, but when she's riding in that car, those are apple trees. I'm not fooled. I know what an orange grove looks like. I was raised by them. I grew up in the orange groves. Those weren't orange groves. Those were apple trees. Just saying. Now, the exterior shots they get are orange groves, but when she's riding in that car, I know an apple tree when I see it. Can't fucking fool me. Know my Polk County. But anyway, I'm from the sticks, pal. But I wouldn't have hated this reveal with Timmy had I saw it coming and they set it up a little better. But they kind of explain it all away at the end, and I don't like that. Like, I needed something along the way to kind of make me go, oh, is it the kid? Can't be the kid, right? it ends up being the kid. Like, I think it's too out of left field for me. But to be fair, they did leave him alive with Paris. So I guess we should have at least tried to remember. But I guess I'm just giving them a little credit. It didn't, the Timmy thing, I didn't hate, but I didn't love it either. I wish it just would have been Rhodes and we get a happy ending. The killer in his head is dead. So all in all, a mixed bag. I think there's some good here, but I do think my main issue is just kind of just wish it was a simple whodunit, man. I really, really do.
Yeah, so all the dead bodies starting to go missing. Like, that really makes the wheels turn. That's like a light bulb going off moment. I thought it was a nice touch, a well done added thing they did there. And then when they find out they all have the same birthday, it kind of makes it easy to guess what's going on because of the tie-ins with Malcolm Rivers and what we heard and saw, in the opening montage and then throughout the movie. And then when it is revealed, I thought that part was really well done. They did a good job of exposing what's going on here. But the reveal of Rhodes' backstory is way too late, man. Way too late. Like, knowing this actor, knowing he's not real, is just kind of pointless to me. Like, I get it that I guess that was probably another one of his personalities. The cop probably was, given what we read about Paris, the guy that she had tied up. Like, everyone is connected somehow, I guess. But it's just, they should have showed us this way earlier in the movie. But in hindsight, it does make that blood spot on the back of his shirt. It's like, that was cool. But just this last part just drug out way too long for me. Finding out it was a little boy personality that was the killer. Like, I thought that was a nice twist at the end there, but something just kind of felt off about the execution of not only the twist, but just the movie in general, knowing what it is. Like, after you've watched it, it kind of, like, I was enjoying it a lot more until I knew the twist. And the twist was well done. So that's what makes it confusing. That tells me, okay, something's off about the execution here. You got two,
You're right.
you put them together and it equals 4, but it's like, how the hell did I get here? When I show my work, it doesn't really work. And so that's how I feel about this movie. I
agree with you 100%. You said what I couldn't say. This movie pulls off what it's trying to, but for some reason it just doesn't feel as good.
Yeah.
For some reason. Like, I can't explain what it is.
It's like that meme, task failed successfully. It's like, okay, you succeeded, but
well, like, it's kind of like cutting open like a big piece of chocolate cake. Like, you take a bite and you're like that chocolate cake looks really good, and you take a bite and it's like, no, it's not so bad. Yeah. Like, it's still chocolate cake.
Trust me.
Yeah, Mike, Dustin, I agree with both of you. This movie's not bad by any means, but it's just like something just doesn't hit, and I can't put my finger on it, but it just doesn't hit for me. But let's jump onto social media real quick. We'll do Twitter first. Mookie commented, I used to stay up late in middle school and watch this movie all the time. I loved it as a youngin'. Haven't seen it in years. Definitely need to rewatch it for sure. I should have watched this movie. It was on Netflix and I had to pay for it. Congratulations. I played myself. Patrick Jacob, he said, do you know his connections to the Scream movies? He and Brian kind of both had input for this. He said, I should have clarified. It's not the movie itself, but behind the scenes, Kathy Conrad produced both. And Brian said that both had Greg Nicotera involved. Okay. See, I didn't know either, so that's cool. Sean Irwin tweeted us saying, absolutely love this movie. Just watched it again last month. I think the twist holds up well, and it's a fairly fun take on slashers. Okay. The Cool tweeted us saying, great movie. Can't wait to hear y'all's opinion. I don't think any of us think it's great, but I'm glad you want to hear our opinion, brother. And Optimus Climb, that's a funny name. He tweeted saying, twistier than the movie Twister. Okay.
There are a lot of twists in this
twistier
movie.
than a dick at a UFC fight.
The old dick twist.
I don't know how that's become a part of our show every week. But
I don't either, but I love it.
My bad.
No, it's funny. All right. We didn't have anything on Facebook, so I'll jump over to Instagram. Mark_Hef commented, great movie. Didn't see the twist coming. Amanda, call me sometime. Paris, never been. You ain't going to tonight. Best line in the movie with a laughing emoji.
I agree.
That was a good line. All right. Schmoopy commented, I've been on hiatus from the podcast until I started my new job. So excited to start listening in, especially now that I can binge episodes back to back. Hey, you got to love a good binge. I'm here for it.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you, Schmoopy. Danny CNAP's comment, I finally got around to seeing this movie a couple months ago. I never imagined, based on the cover art, what it would be about, LOL. But it was fun for a one-time watch. I enjoy this more than 13 Ghosts for sure. Okay.
Well, a lot of movies are better than 13 Ghosts, pal. Anyway.
I see. Okay. I agree with what you just said, Mike. And this movie is better made than 13 Ghosts. But, man, I enjoyed 13 Ghosts way more than this one. From an enjoyability standpoint.
Hey, everyone's different. It's all good, pal.
They're close
Maybe
for me.
because Shannon Elizabeth.
Hey.
That's fair.
Hey.
I like her and Amanda Peet
Hey,
both.
come on now.
I'm just throwing that out there. Hey, come on now.
All right. Jesse Kraft comment, absolutely love this movie. So underrated. Saw it in the theaters and was blown away by the ending. I also loved John Cusack in this kind of role. He played it perfectly. All the actors were perfect in their roles with a hands up emoji. I agree. And another movie I'm excited with him and we need to do is 1408. That's a pretty good movie as well. From what I remember.
Dude, I said that when you were off earlier. I said I was scrolling through IMDb and I was like, man, I forgot all about 1408. I agree. We do need to do that.
Too.
All right, and the last comment we have on Instagram is from Christian Cunningham himself. Thank you guys again for reviewing my pick. It's one of my all-time favorites. I know it's not perfect and has some holes here and there, but I feel the concept made it easy enough to suspend my belief enough to thoroughly enjoy. I hope I created some new fans for this underrated gem, in my opinion. Love the pod, guys. Keep it up. Hey, Christian Cunningham, thank you. You're the one who, supported us. We truly appreciate it.
Yes, thank you
and,
so much.
it took us forever to get to it, and I just appreciate your patience, and I love that you're a fan of the show. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
I don't have any fun facts tonight, guys. Do y'all have any and want to go?
I've got two.
Go ahead. I got one. If you don't get it, I'll get it.
All right. Ray Liotta's character was asked where he was heading with his con. His reply was Carson City. John Cusack was in the movie Con Air, which, where the cons took over a plane in Carson City. By the way, Con Air is a great movie. I love it.
Probably Nick Cage's best movie. Probably.
I don't know. I love it, though. It's great. Cusack's great in that, man.
National treasure, pal. Anyway.
Grow up. Go ahead.
James Mangold.
This man picked Ernest. Fuck out of here, pal. Kiss my fat ass. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Jesus.
That's the fattest part of it, too. Jesus.
Okay, goddamn. All right, so the character played by Jake Busey is humming lines of from this famous song by Johnny Cash, I Got Stripes, Stripes on My Shoulders. The next Mangold movie was the Cash biopic, Walk the Line, 2005.
Yep. The only one I got is that they shot several endings for this movie in order to shroud the real conclusion in secrecy. That's pretty good idea, but I think that, like the famous line in this movie's so unbelievable it just might be true. Like if you would have told me that this was the ending of the movie, I'd be like, come on, you're pulling my leg. This is pretty good twist.
Hold on.
Money, Mike.
Okay. Yeah, buddy. All right. So this movie was made for a cool $28 million and gross over $90 million worldwide. So nice little profit there.
Hey, can't be mad at those numbers. All right, guys, let's jump into our favorite kill, least favorite kill in the rating. Who wants to kick us off tonight?
I'll go first. I feel like I never go first. I'm going to do it. Here we go. All right. So, hold on. Sorry. Should have been more prepared. I just jumped right into that shit. My apologies. Okay.
Mike never knows he has to do the budget every week. And then he just volunteered.
Well, it's just
not
ridiculous.
ready.
Yeah, I know. But I have my budget pulled up, but it's in a different place. I'm sorry. Okay. So, all right, here I go. My actual favorite kill was Rose because he was a piece of shit. I know the kill wasn't cool. I know there's a lot more visually cool kills, but like I kind of, I don't know. I liked the fact that he's dead because I thought he was a piece of shit the whole time. My least favorite is George York. Oh, he didn't have to die that way. He just get ran over. Our guy, John C. McGinley, man, come on. That's bullshit.
He's a nerd.
All right. I can't do the eyebrow thing that he does. You know what I'm talking. I can't do it. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, podcasting is a visual medium anyway. You know how that goes. All right. So everything I've said kind of already summed it up. I think this movie hits where it hits, and then it kind of falls flat in certain places. This story has been done better, but it doesn't make this a bad film. I think it's a mixed bag. Great acting, great shots that we get from the camera work. Love the setting, so I love this set design. I love where this movie takes place. And I think it's a good story, but I do feel like some of the stuff that takes place inside of his head, all of that kind of drags the movie down just a little bit. Like I feel like Brian mentioned a couple movies, hell, we've done on this show where I feel like they just do these certain things a little bit better. But that doesn't take away from the performances, doesn't take away from, the stuff I do like. So all in all, for a mixed bag, I'm going to give this movie a 7, which I still feel really good about. Like I feel like it's a good movie. To me, it's rewatchable, but I feel like a 7. I'm going a little high because I think the acting is so damn good.
That's fair. I'll go next. Favorite kill, I'm going to choose George, and it's not because I didn't like the character, but at least you got to see the kill. I'm honestly not the biggest fan of a lot of the kills in the movie. My least favorite, I'm going to go with Jenny. The car explodes, and she ain't there no more. But, I mean, you could pick a lot of these kills, honestly, as your least favorite. I hate to cop out, but I kind of feel like I've said how I feel about it, too. Don't have strong feelings either way. The acting was very good. It's a fun cast. I don't know. The story just doesn't suck me in enough to care about what's going on that much. I can't really explain it much better than that. And I apologize to you, Christian Cunningham, because I know this is one of your favorites. But this movie just doesn't suck me into it to care that much. Like Secret Window is another movie kind of like this, the split personality thing. Like I'm just invested right off the get-go. I don't know why, but I just wasn't super invested in the movie. But I thought it was okay, but I gave it a 5.5.
Okay. I'll go ahead and go real quick. So as far as favorite kill goes, man, I didn't really love any of them. I guess the driver who got stabbed in the back. Least favorite kill, though, I mean, you could take your pick. I mean, Dr. Malix was stupid. He had no reason to open the thing just to, he could talk through that. That was a barrier meant to protect him. It didn't, it wasn't soundproof. There was holes in it, for God's sake. George's death was stupid. He ran out in front of a car. Robert's death was cool, but we didn't get to see it. Just Carol and Susan, we never saw her body. We just saw a head in a dryer. It's just all the deaths to me left a lot to be desired. Paris's death was honestly the most infuriating because you're a grown ass woman. Get up and kick that little kid across the orange grove. But anyway, as far as the movie goes, like I said when I was giving my opening thoughts, it's like, Nico, you mentioned Secret Window, which is a fantastic movie as well, but the one that my mind kept going back to was Shutter Island. It's like this movie's plot is if you order Shutter Island's plot on Wish.com. There's meat there, man. You have potential for a really good story here, but the execution, it's like you got a fast break. You can go up for a dunk, but instead you trip at the free throw line and you stumble, but you still somehow end up with 2 points. It was clunky. It left a lot to be desired, but the cast made up for a lot of that. Like the acting was so good and the directing was so good that it made up for a lot of it. So I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I'll go as middle of the road as you can go. I gave it a flat 5.
Okay. My favorite kill, I don't know. It would have been the mom because of the shock factor, Alice. I don't know. Does that count since she died later? But her getting hit by that fucking car was awesome. So, you know what? I'm going with that. Fuck it. Let's do it live. I'm going with Alice. Least favorite kill, Lou, Louisiana. Fucking stupid ass name. Plus, it was off screen. I didn't like that. Yeah, so I didn't talk about the rewatchability. I personally don't think knowing the twist hurts the rewatchability very much. I think that you could still, you can still notice other things no matter how many times you watch it. Plus, it's a very quick watch. So, like I said, I think my biggest problem is that I didn't see this movie when it first came out, which, it's not this movie's fault. Look, it's not you, it's me. I went back and forth with my score. I actually ended up with a 6.75. Again, I agree with what Dustin said. Every acting, cinematography, everything is absolutely phenomenal. It's just the ending that does it for me. Like I said, it was a 9 or a 10 up until that last probably group of scenes to me. Our scene breakdown anyway. So 6.75.
All right, so that gives us a composite score of 6.0625. IMDb has it at a 7.3, so we're about a 1.3 points under the 250,000 votes that have rated it on IMDb. But we're right; they're wrong.
Big facts.
The fuck do they know anyway? Huh?
Yeah, exactly. Guys, any final thoughts on Identity for as you shout out the blood donors?
I am
Man,
glad.
I'm glad.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm glad it got picked.
Yeah, I am too, because I'm not mad I watched it. So,
Oh.
and I've never heard of it until it was picked. So, thanks for picking it. Thanks for supporting the show. Hopefully, my criticisms made sense to you.
Yeah, again, Christian, thank you so much for being a blood donor. We truly appreciate it. Thank you to all of our blood donors, our camper level reoccurring, our Clayton J, Nina, Michelle Mirza, Andrew Ferguson, Carrie Adams, the Horror Movie Crew podcast, Alex Seligson, Eric Doolittle, Sean Irwin, and Brian Samek. I think that's how you say it. I hope so. Camp Counselor reoccurring, Hunter Nelson, Dennis Kennedy, Edwin Hernandez Gunn, Joe Swinford, Jennifer Davis from the Too Close to Home podcast, Heather Smith, Kylie Denise, all the way from Australia, Adrian Aiello, Jake Hambrick, the Legion podcast, and Clay Moore. And our final guide donors are Matt Sears, which we still have a film review to do for. And I'll just touch on that real quick. We planned on doing both of them this week, but, it's just a really busy time of the year. Unfortunately, we are postponing that until December. But, Matt, we will knock out Constantine next month. We appreciate your patience, brother. Next week, we'll be kicking off my theme month. I chose a theme called Overdue Month, where we're all picking a movie we think is overdue for a review, like one that we've had on our list or one we just think is just it's time to do it. And Brian gets the first pick, and he truly loves this movie he's picking. What is it, brother?
It's AKA Fuck Old Brian Month. That's the way I thought about it anyway.
Hashtag blame Dustin.
No.
Brian, you don't like Pet Sematary?
I got bullied into my pick, pal. It's not my fault.
I've actually never seen Pet Sematary.
What?
The fuck? Do you hate the
What?
80s? Don't ever talk to me again.
You hate the 80s, Brian?
You have lost your privileges to give Nico shit about movies he hasn't seen.
I have actually never seen it.
That's like you're gonna sit there owning a fireworks stand and claim you ain't got no whisker do's, whisker don'ts. Like that's the equivalent of this.
No whistling bungholes.
With or without the scooter sticks.
I've seen the remake, but I have never seen the original.
What the fuck?
Christ,
all you're doing is
flabbergasted.
I forgot what we were even talking about. Oh, next week.
This went off the rails bad.
So
Well, you can't drop a fucking
episode.
bombshell like
Listen.
that and expect it not to go off the rails.
Well, you asked. I didn't drop it anyway. You asked.
I'm clipping this
Well, that
YouTube
well,
short
that do
soon,
be
so.
true.
250th episode next week. Episode number
Yeah.
250.
Let's go.
And I picked the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Nice.
Nice.
This is a
Can't
great
wait,
movie
buddy.
for episode 250. This is a great episode.
A 10. A fucking 10.
I don't know about all that, but
Just kidding. No, it's not a 10. But it is high. It'll be high. It'll be high. My number will be high. It's not better than 03, though. Anyway.
all right, guys. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Brian,
I
you
guess
broke
not.
my heart a little bit today.
Yeah, we're all fucked up right now.
I kind of feel like that it's not even going to be like worth. I've always felt like that. I've always been like, I don't want to fucking watch it. Plus, watching the remake and I didn't like it that much. I really am just like, oh man, I don't really.
Let me just tell you something, Brian. Sometimes with your opinion, dead is better. All right, let's go.
It's got Herman fucking Munster in it, man. Go ahead.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm excited to hear your thoughts, considering you watched the remake first. But anywho, let's end this episode. We hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. We appreciate all of our blood donors. Shout out to you again, Christian Cunningham. Thank you for the patience. Sorry it took so long, but hey, we appreciate all of our fans, and y'all have a good one. Just want to remind everybody.